Don Lebatard.
Wasted away again in Margaritaville. Searching for my lost shaker of sand.
Stugats.
Some people claim that there's a green person to blame.
Really?
But I don't.
I'm not
Margaritaville, baby.
This is the Don Lebatard Show with the Stugats on ESPN Radio.
Chris Sims, I'm sorry, he probably hates me.
Well, let's find out what's going on with Chris Sims. But before we get to anything, let's get to our 42nd ranked quarterback in the NFL. Chris Sims of Bleacher Report said Blake Bortles was the 70th best quarterback in the universe, and he has proceeded to name them all daily since saying that. So 42, number 42 for Chris Sims today after Drew Stanton and Matt Moore is...
Trevor Siemian, Denver Broncos.
Really? Okay, maybe. I feel like
you're starting to question the list now?
Yeah, now is the first time I've questioned because I feel like Siemian would do the same things Bortles did yesterday.
Right, but he gave you Nathan Peterman. You didn't question it then.
No, this is my breaking point right here.
This is it, huh? This is where you the final straw. You've had enough.
It's too funny. Sims, I got to tell you, a light went off in my head, which doesn't happen often. It happened yesterday, where I realized exactly what it is that you were saying. And you're right. And I apologize because you are right. 55 seconds to go, 2 timeouts, end of the first half, and they take a couple of knees because they simply don't trust their quarterback.
Passing age,
they don't trust them.
Chris, in the passing age, is there any other quarterback that you can imagine them doing something like that with?
No, this is why I literally want, Stugats, thank you, first of all, because I'm still icing down my kahunas from all the low blows you gave me on ESPN yesterday.
Sorry.
Thank you for that.
I'm sorry.
But no, it's okay. Don't worry. Yes, that says it all. Thank you for saying that, guys. Jacksonville was basically holding up a sign right there going, our quarterback's number 70. We don't trust him to go down the field right here.
You're right.
That's what they were doing. Oh, 3rd and 11 late in the third quarter, draw play. That was another, hey, I'm number 70 at quarterback, and they don't trust me to throw the ball in 3rd and 11. Not to throw the ball at the end of the game there with one of the shots. New England with Tom Brady's probably going to go down to score. You need to get a first down to win the game. No, we're not going to throw it because what? #70. That's why.
So you saw the same thing we did because as conservative as they were, they had the perfect game plan given their limitations.
Yes, they did.
They executed that game plan flawlessly as well until I thought, Chris, the last 6 minutes of the game where offensively they started shrinking even more. They became even more scared than they'd been playing on offense all game.
Yeah, they got extremely conservative in the second half, and you're right. The game went about as perfect as it could go for the Jacksonville Jaguars. When you read the bottom stat line, you would go, man, Jacksonville won this game, right? They had the ball for over 35 minutes. 30 more yards of total offense altogether. All those things. Yes, Blake Bortles did a lot of good things. Don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting here just to yell at him and say that. He executed a game plan that was amazing, but in that, remember, they're executing a game plan and doing things on offense because of his limitations. That's what they're doing. And, again, the best team on the football field, you guys saw it. It was the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yep.
If you took the 22 starters from both teams and said, okay, let's make the best possible team, the only Patriots you're going to take are Brady, Gronkowski, maybe one O-lineman, and Devin McCourty. The rest of the team is going to be Jaguars. It's just one of those things. Again, I'm not proud of myself, but you guys drug me into this, and now I'm going down swinging.
Chris, it's interesting because do you blame that? So the final 6 minutes, 7 minutes, where Dan is right. The game plan completely changed. It got even more conservative, and we all agree, okay, the quarterback is limited. But is that on the quarterback who's played well the last 2 weeks and has played well the last 2 months on the road, or is that on the head coach, Doug Marrone?
No, I think it is. It's just what they've done all year long. See, to me, this is why they turned around the team in Jacksonville this year. Because in past years, Gus Bradley just said, "Well, Blake Bortles, we're going to treat him like every other quarterback in football. We want him to drop back and throw the ball over the field." Oh yeah, okay, great, but that's why you were 3-13 and you don't have a job anymore. Doug Marrone and Tom Coughlin said, "We can't ask him to do these kind of things. This is not what he does. You better find things that he does really well and be creative and find $1 million different ways to do it, whether it be a tight end screen or a receiver screen, or like Romo was saying on the telecast, they love to throw shallow crosses. Yeah, every quarterback loves to throw the 5-yard shallow cross in front of them. It's open all the time. So, yes, it's a Marrone thing, but it's also his managing of the football game when he did let Bortles go at the end of halves and end of games, not only throughout his career and his history, but even this season. Usually disaster came about, and I think he learned his lesson. So he was going to go, you know what, we're going to control the clock, and I'm going to keep trusting this great defense I got.
Bleacher Report is where you catch him. Thank you, Chris. We'll talk to you again tomorrow.
All right, guys. Have a good day.
All right, see you, Chris.
Stugatz, after trading Jacoby Brissett, after trading Jimmy Garoppolo, the Patriots, it's like a riddle. The Patriots still found themselves in a situation yesterday where the best defense in the league was still fearing two quarterbacks. Like it's like a riddle because Jacksonville was fearing Brady and its own quarterback.
Yes.
You were watching a trip to the Super Bowl. I'm not sure I've ever seen it before.
I mean, Marrone was just trying to get to the finish line.
I didn't even feel like when the Ravens were winning the Super Bowl with Trent Dilfer, I did not feel what I felt yesterday, which is that's a high school offense being run. Trent Dilfer, I remember that season throwing the ball down the field, trying things down the field, and Dilfer was terrible. Dilfer was terrible that whole season. But the Jacksonville blueprint was, we've been hearing, right, Stugatz? All these franchises that don't have a quarterback, they all point to the Brad Johnson Super Bowl of John Gruden with that defense and the Trent Dilfer Super Bowl. It's what Philadelphia and the Vikings were banking on here.
Right.
The idea of, look, our defenses are good enough that we could do it with an everyman quarterback. But what the Jags were trying to do with Blake Bortles yesterday was run a high school offense, Stugatz. That's the thing that's jarring about what you were watching, and yet it was working all game. High school offense, slants, screens. We're not throwing anything 15 yards down the field.
Right.
We're going to play right here, 10 yards, and if it's 3rd and 2 and we don't get it, we're going to punt. And they executed it all game long.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the game, they're terrified of their own quarterback.
I think you didn't have that feeling with Dilfer. I think Baltimore was playing an opponent, like throughout that playoff run, they beat the Giants in the Super Bowl.
No, but
they went 34-7.
No, but they also they won at the Raiders during that run in a game. Saragusa, I think, knocked out Rich Gannon, the MVP of the league.
Oh, okay.
Saragusa did. I think that was the year. I don't think I'm mixing up 2 years. But regardless, what's the point? Because that's what the Jags were trying to do. They were trying to Trent Dilfer their way to the Super Bowl.
No, they absolutely weren't. Dilfer was bad that year. I'm just saying I don't think the Ravens throughout that run played a team like the Patriots where they had a big lead and they blew it in the fourth quarter because they were trying to hide Trent Dilfer. They weren't trying to do that. To your point, they were at least letting Trent Dilfer, as bad as he was, try to win them some games.
I just can't believe that what we're seeing at the tail end of Tom Brady's historic career is all of these things that make him appear even greater than he was 10 minutes ago. I don't understand how you come back from 28-3. That's got to be the end of the story, doesn't it?
Yes.
You come back from 28-3 to beat the Falcons. It can't get better than that, can it?
No.
But then you get your ass dragged all day yesterday. You got no Gronk. You're playing the best defense in the league. You're down 20-10 in the fourth quarter. You've got nothing, and everyone knows it. It's Amendola and Burkhead. My God, if they got lost at the grocery store, you'd call the PA and say, get my kids back. My kids are lost in the Amendola, and they're going against Calais Campbell. He's 6'9". Chunks of linebacker in his stool when he gets up in the morning. And Rex Burkhead and Amendola hang from Calais Campbell's keychains.
Super Bowl. They played the Raiders in the AFC Championship game, and they won that game 16-3. They gave up 16 points in the 3 playoff games. Ravens defense also slightly better than Jacksonville.
Yes, that was historic, but I'm saying that's the one we always point to. That and the Sap Bucks defenses of Brad Johnson. That's how Jacksonville was trying to get to the Super Bowl. But I don't think I've ever seen a professional football team play a playoff game where they were so clearly trying to hide their own quarterback as the one I saw yesterday.
Hi, Hi, this is Papi. Do you know that my TV show Highly Questionable is not only on ESPN2 every day at 4:30 Eastern, it is also available as a podcast. You can listen or subscribe to the Highly Questionable podcast on ESPN app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Don Lebatard.
Who sounds like the friendliest of the monsters here? Is it Al Jefferson? Calais Campbell?
Well, thank you.
Yes.
I'll take that as a compliment.
Yes. Or is it Arvydas Sabonis?
I never have chance to be in the draft.
Stugats.
Very difficult vote. We've never had a poll harder than this one. It's the hardest poll in the history of polling.
This is the Don Lebatard Show with the Stugats on ESPN Radio.
This is an unusual report coming through here from Adrian Wojnarowski and Michael C. Wright. Months of discord. They are reporting a schism.
Uh-oh.
Yes, everybody stand back. Wojnarowski and Michael C. Wright are reporting a schism.
Whoa.
Months of discord centering on elements of treatment, rehabilitation, and timetables for his return from a right quad injury have had a chilling impact on San Antonio star Kawhi Leonard's relationship with the franchise and coaching staff, league sources told ESPN.
Got one with the Patriots this year, got one with the Spurs. I mean, interesting to see these two teams, which seem kind of bulletproof, right? And they're going through this.
Well, the Spurs never deal with this, and it makes me think that Kawhi Leonard is probably in some physical pain, probably blames his rehab and the fact he's only played 9 games this season or whatever it is on the fact that they keep trying to get him back and other things. Kawhi's got to think about long term.
Correct.
The Spurs might be tempted to think short term, and within that divide, a lot of people aren't going to get along with their rehabbing star.
Spurs thinking about this year, winning championships this year.
Or just trying to get him back out there or whatever.
Right.
I just don't think that Kawhi Leonard has ever had a work ethic problem. You know what I mean? Like, nobody thinks of Kawhi Leonard as a guy. The Spurs do things the right way, but he's not exactly Deion Waiters.
No, if anything, people think the opposite. They think of a guy who's quiet, just tends to his business, works really hard, one of the best players in the league.
I honestly can't think of an odder situation in basketball to present itself in terms of a player not getting along with management than this guy against this team.
Shocking.
I mean, I don't know.
100%.
I don't know what else I would point to and say that would be equally shocking.
You could see the Brady Belichick. You could see that. You could see the clash of egos. One guy thinks he's responsible, the other guy, but not this team. Not this guy with this team with this coach.
It's just, you would never think that Kawhi Leonard, LaMarcus Aldridge, you understand. When LaMarcus Aldridge goes astray of the Spurs, you assume for the first time in your life that LaMarcus Aldridge is a bad apple.
Correct.
You don't assume that the Spurs are wrong there. LaMarcus Aldridge has been nothing but a pillar of professionalism his entire career. And when he goes sideways on the Spurs, you're like, Aldridge must not be special.
Yep. First thing I thought of when I heard that story.
But now, now you got your two big guys saying they're not down so much. Do we ever allow these damn things to end well? Like, Belichick's going to end up coaching somewhere else.
Yep. The Giants, yeah.
And are we going to allow Popovich to have the graceful ending, or
no?
How can you tell if things are frosty between Kawhi and the Spurs? How?
How would you know?
How would you know?
Other than the reporting from Woj, right? Like, if you didn't have the reporting from Woj, how would you know? I saw it yesterday up in Foxborough. I saw it with my own 2 eyes. I don't need Seth Wickersham or anyone to tell me. It is frosty up there. But Mike is right. It's a great point. How would you know without Woj's reporting?
We're all surprised by this because there's a story about Kawhi Leonard. There's just never been a story about Kawhi Leonard other than his stat line.
That's right.
Is this the first story ever?
Well, this is the most. Is this the most interesting thing the Spurs have done in 20 years? Guillermo, put it on the poll. Is this the most interesting thing the Spurs have done in 20 years?
Fat Chris is right. There was a story about Kawhi Leonard and the size of his hands. Fat Chris is right.
A story. Somebody wrote a story about big hands. Big-handed Kawhi Leonard. Thank you, Chris, for being right about that. Someone wrote a story about Kawhi Leonard's big hands. In 10 minutes, we're going to have James Patterson on. He's an author who wrote about the Aaron Hernandez murder. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that through laughs. I just don't think it's fair what we're doing to the Patriots today.
You want to bump until tomorrow?
They just had that game, and now this is not on purpose. We are not doing this on purpose. It just so happens that this is when the author's selling his book now. The book just came out. It's certainly interesting material. There's no disputing that.
This is the only day he could do it?
Well, this was the day he was booked, and he was booked. He was booked before anything we saw yesterday.
Right, but he's booked on the heels of an AFC championship
I understand
game.
It's not the greatest timing by our show to interview an author about a murder.
But it's great timing by him.
Yeah.
Because you got Patriots fans' attention either way today.
Well, but Stugotz, this is the other thing about, for all we lament, right? Football, it's an imperfect measurement system. Atlanta's one Julio Jones catch away from eliminating the Eagles. The Saints are one miracle away from not playing in the game. For all of that said, the NFL, after another season, ratings are down. Is it the Kaepernick effect? This is the perfect Super Bowl. They needed you don't want Jacksonville, Philadelphia.
No, you got two big markets. You got Brady.
But I'm saying everyone wants to watch Brady in the Super Bowl, and he's playing against the team that has been the best team all year without dispute by consensus, whether their quarterback is Foles or Wentz, or Foles made to look like Wentz because he gets to play in that offense.
I guess best possible matchup. I don't know. Do the Cowboys, if you're the NFL, do you always want the Cowboys? I know you want the Patriots in there.
I guess, but in terms of merit, the Eagles, both of these teams merit their Super Bowl appearances. We're not sitting here disputing whether or not these are the two best teams in the league.
No, you're right. This is a rare case, a rare season where we have the two best teams in the NFL.
And it's just a perfect Super Bowl for football. It's just now it's not just the Brady storyline. Again, it's Brady against yet another opponent. It's not Seattle. It's someone we haven't seen before. It's a new team with
a really good defense.
The Eagles have been really good, but I just love that the spread today. I feel like the spread today was just 5.5 Patriots, and it's based on nothing more than, man, Brady's good.
Well, that's it. It's Tom Brady minus 5.5 over Nick Foles.
I know, but Nick Foles looked like Wentz. Yeah, the most impressive quarterback performance this weekend was put together by Nick Foles.
It was. Do it in the Super Bowl. He hasn't. Tom has.
Oh, okay, very good.
5 times.
That's it. Excellent advice from Stugotz. Hey, Nick Foles, do it in the Super Bowl before you play the Super Bowl.
Don Le Batard.
You want to make something smart really dumb? I give you Stugotz.
Stugotz.
You love sandwiches, huh?
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. James Patterson going to join the show in just a second on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. I'm rattled because there are a bunch of tennis names in front of me. These are tough. Here's your SportsCenter update. In the ladies bracket for the Australian Open, number 1 ranked Simona Halep cruised by Naomi Osaka in straight sets to move on to the quarterfinals. Other quarterfinal matches include Caroline Wozniacki versus Carla Suarez Navarro, Elise Mertens versus Elena Svitolina? No idea. Angelique Kerber versus Madison Keys. And finally, Rush band member Alex Lifeson has confirmed Rush's breakup, saying, quote, after 41 years, we felt like it was enough. That's sad.
Oh.
That stinks. Yeah.
Put it on the poll, Guillermo. Are you bummed that Rush broke up?
That was the first concert I ever went to. Rush and then AC/DC. That stinks. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in the SportsCenter on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
Guillermo also put on the poll, would you be okay with an alarm system throughout America to alert you when that Patriots thing was happening? Like just an alarm that goes off everywhere.
I love that. The visual you created where everyone in the fourth quarter runs outside. It's happening again, and everyone scurries inside. Yes.
It's Brady time, Brady time. So James Patterson, you may be familiar with his work. His books have sold more than 300 million copies. He's done one here about Aaron Hernandez, All-American Murder. It's available now.
This is an author that is so good that even I have read one or two of his books.
All right. The highest compliments for James Patterson. Thank you for being on with us, sir.
That really got to me. I'm telling you, man.
I hope so.
I'm reading some information about all the interviews you did for this, and I'm reading here that you broke down during one of the interviews, that you got emotional.
Well, when I was doing it, we did 48 hours, and the show was on Saturday.
Odin Lloyd, who was that was the victim where where Hernandez got convicted of the murder. His mother, and I'd heard on a lot of interviews that she was just a great lady, Ursula Ward. And when I did meet her, and I'm not used to doing interviews, on television and stuff, and I know I'm not supposed to, but she's crying and I'm crying. I'm going, I'm not supposed to do this, man. This isn't the way they do it on 60 Minutes.
And what is it? What is it that got you? I mean, is it just?
It was just. You just felt it. Her point of view, and not in a bad way, is that this is known as the Aaron Hernandez story. She says it. I don't mean she's not being silly about it, but it should be the Odin Lloyd story. He's the victim. He's the hero. He's the good guy here. He's the nice guy. And I think she was true. Everything we heard about Odin was pretty positive.
How did the reporting work on this, James? You interviewed more than 60 people. How did you feel about the answers you were getting?
Well, it was a mixed bag. I mean, we got nothing from the NFL or the Patriots, which I kind of understand because there are a lot of lawsuits being lodged against them. And the CTE connection, which is, really troubling with them. I would have liked it if the commissioner had sort of sent a little note and said, hey, we can't talk, but he didn't say anything. In terms of the police, lots of stuff. At the prisons and like at North Attleboro, they're very cooperative. Down in Florida, Gainesville, I have a lot of contacts in Florida, so that worked really well. We got enough from the hometown to sort of lay out his high school years, but a lot about at the University of Florida. So we got plenty.
And what's the most revealing fact you learned about Aaron Hernandez?
Well, I think what really just bangs me over the head, and anybody that saw the 48 Hours, is how many gifts this guy had. He's unbelievably handsome. I mean, what a fall from grace. The guy's handsome. He's got an amazing smile when he wants to use it. Big dimple. He's got a $40 million contract. He's a spectacular football player. He has, basketball player moves and a big body. He's got this beautiful fiancée, high school sweetheart, baby girl, and boom, it goes up in a puff of smoke.
Did you get at the why? Did you?
Yeah, sure.
And
this isn't a whodunit. This is a why done it. Yeah. For me, these things are never simple. A lot of people just want to go CTE. For me, I think that there's a pretty clear evidence that he had some psychopathic tendencies anyway. A lot of people with CTE, and I don't know if you've come across any, but I'm not aware of any that went on murder sprees. But so there's psychopathic tendencies, I think. They
say maybe O.J. Simpson. O.J. Simpson might have been, that CTE might have been in play there.
Could be. Yep, and for sure, and I think especially in the last year or so when he was really, you look at the murder scene. I mean, first he kills this guy like a mile from his house, which is stupid. Number one, he leaves 4 shells, around the body. Stupid. Number 2, he leaves his cell phone in the guy's pocket with his number on it. He leaves car keys for a rent-a-car that he rented for the guy. He shoots out a sign on the way out of when he's leaving there, puts a couple of bullets in. He leaves another bullet in the car that he's in. I mean, Jesus. And then the suicide. I think he was kind of lost to the world by the time he did that. I think he was in and out of reality.
James, going how far back would you say these symptoms? How far back did the symptoms go? Because what I'm wondering here, would it be possible for someone to perhaps see this coming in the future?
Maybe. I mean, look, there was just a study that came out recently from BU. This is in the last few days that they did these 4 high school kids who died, and they found evidence of CTE in all 4 of their brains. So obviously, and these are kids who never had any reported concussions. So I think it can happen as early as high school age or earlier. And it's going to not just be football. It's going to be, rugby and soccer and some of the training they do for the military. We're just going to have to be careful about hitting people in the head, Our heads are not built to be shocked like that.
His new book, All-American Murder, is available now. James Patterson, the author, with us on ESPN Radio. What did you learn about the suicide?
Well, for one thing, people always go, how the hell did he kill himself? Hanging himself from a 5-foot-high window and tying it to, going across the room to the door. And what I found out up there was that particular style had been used a few times in that prison. So people knew about it. He knew about that was a way to do this. He knew it was going to work, or at least he felt it. And he was no dope. I mean, he was a pretty bright guy. You know, he knew it was going to work. He set out to do it. You know, one of my suspicions is that he believed in the chaotic workings of his brain at that point, but he believed that if you believe in Jesus, you would be saved. So I think he thought he was going to somehow be saved, or that it didn't matter one way or the other, and that this was a way, presumably, to get money to his fiancée and the baby.
Did you tackle any of what the English tabloids were reporting in terms of his sexual escapade?
I don't know. I mean, who knows what goes on in prison? But here's the problem with that. The guy was in his locked in his room 22 and a half hours a day. So I mean, what could he do? You know, he's whenever he was out, he was being watched. You know, I mean, I don't think it was just for his own protection, but I think for the prison's protection. The last thing they want to do is have this guy get killed in prison. But he was in his room. He didn't really get to see anybody. They kept him away from the general population. So I don't think there was much opportunity for him to do anything. So I kind of poo-poo most of that. And we certainly got no evidence of it. Nothing in the jails, nothing from the other inmates. So, I mean, who knows? But there's nothing that we heard.
Do you have beef with Stephen King?
Wait a minute.
No,
what?
he has a beef with me. I don't. You know, it is what it is. Look, everybody gets to, you know, you get to draw your own opinions. Anybody that says I'm a terrible writer is being a little idiotic. But you know, different smokes for different folks. I mean, you know, he likes some things that I think he's a good writer. The end. That's where I'm going to leave it.
Wow.
James Patterson with us. New book, All American Murder, is available now.
I don't sense any beef there.
I know. I want him to have beef with Stephen King, but he's taking the high road.
No,
what do I look like, LeBron James? I'm not, you know.
Come on, you don't have to take the high road there.
No, right?
Why not?
Why not?
No. Take the high road when you get. That's what I loved about Odin's mother. She took the high road in court when they're trying to, what do you think? Should we hang him? She's going like, I can't live that way. I got to take the high road.
We tried to get this started with you before. It's the second time we've tried to get this beef with Stephen King off the ground.
Well, the third time, we'll do it next time.
All right, we'll talk. All right,
but you got to come.
What I really think.
Yeah, but you got to come ready to say it, though,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, you got to be ready next
feel
time.
it,
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Thank you for being on with us, James. We
good.
appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
That concludes our terrible Patriots coverage.
Don Le Batard.
Give me the musician that John Oates right now would pay top dollar because he has to see that musician.
Chuck Berry.
Stugats.
Okay. Yeah, well, we can't do that.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugats on ESPN Radio.
Tony Romo was saying all game yesterday, and we'll get to the polls in a second. We got a good batch today at Le Batard Show. But he was saying all game yesterday, and Belichick has some things that he'll break out in the third and fourth quarter that he hasn't broken out all game. And so he went with corner blitzes. Some corner blitzes were the surprise. And I don't think any of the analysts, not a single one at ESPN, had this as analysis. Late in the season, everything on the line, the Patriots for the first time unveil their levitating defensive back. That was not, nobody had game planned for the Patriots having a human being who would defy gravity at the most important time and continue to soar through the air as if still like a superhero. Good timing by the Patriots to unveil that there.
Gilmore, that levitating thing you do?
Yes, Gilmore, now's a good time. 4th and 14, season on the line. Do that levitation, Holmes.
I kind of feel like I want to give credit to Blake Bortles for making the throw.
It was a great pass.
You should.
It was a great pass.
It was a great play.
No, it was a great pass that only allowed Gilmore to levitate longer than if he'd been riding an actual magic carpet. How? That damn team.
Every time. Except when it's Eli Manning.
Ted Wells, would you please investigate that they had a guy in their secondary at the end of the game defying the very universal truths that are the laws of gravity? I mean, when you jump up, you come down. You don't keep going up until you block the Bortles ball and then stay in the air.
Oh, they do.
Hovering there, parallel to the ground.
Their kryptonite, think about that, is Eli Manning.
That's right. Well, it's those pass rushes. The kryptonite was there yesterday.
It was.
They'll have Eli Manning next year. The Jags will have Eli Manning next year. And whoa, that will be wonderful for Eli Manning.
Well, the Giants actually have committed to Eli Manning as their starting quarterback moving forward. Gettleman. This guy. Clown, man.
This guy, Gettleman.
That press conference. That was electric.
Gettleman thinks he's going to be running New York, man.
Yep.
Gettleman, who got run out of Carolina. Josh Norman hates him. All the Panthers. You will not find a Panther player who will say anything positive about Gettleman. He parlays it into the Giants' job.
I'm telling you, if we're looking for our guy next year, look no further than Gettleman. We had Tom Sula.
Guillermo, put it on the poll. Put it on the poll at Levitard Show. Just bleeping Gettleman. Yes or no? That guy. The general manager of the Giants, what a gas bag. Guy thinks he invented football. Go ahead and update the polls here at Levitard Show. Everybody knows Mike Zimmer invented football.
Right. At Levitard Show on Twitter, have you ever had so much snot on your face that you horrified the masseuse after a massage?
That was Stugat.
It's not very relatable, this poll.
90% of the audience said no.
Unbelievable.
Was it Frosty on the Patriots stage? 80% of the audience said yes. Frosty. You guys didn't notice it? It was weird, man.
Okay.
I mean, Belichick just breezed right past Kraft. He was trying to hug him. Are Michael Jordan and Derek Jeter jealous of Tom Brady right now? 68% of the audience said yes. Weirder couple, Jimmy J.J. Walker and Ann Coulter, Baron Davis and Laura Dern, or Flavor Flav and Bridget Nielsen.
It's a great poll.
43% of the audience, ton of votes, said Flavor Flav and Nielsen. Is Stugatz the closest thing ESPN has ever had to Colbert? 67% of the audience said yes. Well, thank you. Should Guerrero be running the FDA?
That's Tom Brady's doctor who's not a doctor, who is capable of giving youth to the aged.
66% of the audience said yes. Does anyone in the history of ESPN look better in a suit than Ryan Clark? 77% of the audience said no. Does Bob Kraft's voice sound like the start of a horn on a clown car?
Hold on a second. Let's do this again. Let's time it up again here.
There's a lot of strong-minded people, but when you have something
It does.
going,
It sounds like the horn on a clown car.
Now, at one point about 90 minutes ago, I blurted out to you during a commercial break that this was pacing to be the most lopsided poll in the history
Hold
of our
on, Mike,
polls.
but do me a favor. Just the first couple of snorts in. Can you pair them back to back? Put a couple of snorts together to see if we got some clown traffic going on here. All right. I want you to imagine here. I'm weaving through traffic in a clown car and I've just honked my clown horn.
there's a lot of
Yeah. Put the there's a lot of back to back on a few of them. Let's see if we can hear the multiple horn sound.
Now, at the time I said that to you, it was pacing at around 98%.
Really?
Yes, but some people have, it's 90% yes.
Okay, 90% that
Yes.
this sounds like the beginning of a clown horn on a clown car.
there's a lot of
Does Doug Peterson look like Myrtle Beach? 86% of the audience said yes.
He really does.
Can it be an accurate report if that report is they need to stay loose and tighten the screws? 83% of the audience said no.
In the locker room behind me, one of the messages that Doug Marrone wants his team to understand is that they can be loose, they can play loose. That is what defines them. That's the kind of team they are. But he also wants them to tighten the screws and make sure that they realize in this stadium against this team, nothing less than perfection will get it done.
Now we understand.
Yes,
now
yes.
we understand. At the very end, Marone's on the sideline. Loosen, and they were just tightening screws. They were tightening screws at the end. The message got lost.
I think he was tightening the screws. They were loose.
Righty-tighty, but also lefty-loosey.
Right.
Yes,
Everything's very confusing. Be loose, but be tight.
Do you hold your nose when you sneeze? 91% of the audience said no. Do you like a good chair massage? 59% of the audience said yes. Should Doug Peterson coach the Super Bowl with a half-full can of Schlitz malt liquor in his hand? Wow. 95% of the audience said yes.
Yes, of course. I mean, because of course he could.
Which quarterback were the Jags more scared of at the end of the game yesterday? Blake Bortles or Tom Brady? 80% of the audience said Bortles.
I can't believe I was watching that. Like, you're trying to beat Tom Brady and you're afraid of your own quarterback.
What ends first, Stugats' ESPN career or the Patriots' reign? 59% of the audience said my career. Is this the most interesting thing the Spurs have done in 20 years?
It is.
78% of the audience said yes.
It's amazing.
Are you bummed that Rush broke up? 58% of the audience said no.
Oh, audience.
Yes.
Audience. How can you not be bummed that Rush broke up?
Because we're old and they're young.
That was a hell of a run by Rush. 41 years.
Bleeping Gettleman's at 85%.
Almost as long as the Patriots run.